I have been waiting for this moment.
I kept you waiting so long. I'm sorry.
What?
Dare you? Inferior humans cannot outshine me, a god.
Rose, the time has come. This is the end of our long journey.
Zeke,
Could you come with me?
yes. I will never leave you again.
Dart, you have grown up.
Father?
I couldn't do anything for you as a father. Please forgive me.
But Father, we finally met. This isn't fair.
Dart, I'm so glad I met you.
Rose! Father!
Go, Dart.
My role is ended. Blaze the way to the future by yourselves.
This is your age to live with Shauna.
What are you talking about? We can all live together.
We were never meant to exist in this way.
No!
My age ended in remote activity. Farewell, Dart, and thank you.
Rose! Father!
Hello everyone and welcome to the final episode of The Legend of Dragoon. My name is Cody, and that was the amazing final cutscene of the game. Rose and Zeke sacrificed themselves, reaching their own conclusions. Rose felt she'd lived for too long, and she was finally able to come to a resolution. Everything, the world was saved, and the new generation could move on. The final official cutscene is over, but this credit sequence stuff contains a lot of interesting information on what happens next. You can see Kongol practicing martial arts with Haschel, except he couldn't maintain his balance and he fell. There's a lot of this kind of stuff, you know, sort of what happened to everyone. But yeah, that cutscene for the PlayStation 1, it's pretty intense. I mean, you probably noticed, but the voice acting is always a bit wonky in this. The English voice acting, sometimes the lips don't line up, sometimes the characters are saying dramatic things while talking about them like they're just saying conversation. But I think the meaning came through in the end. And, oh, here we go, this is, what's it called, Twin Castle. Oh, there's Princess, Lisa, right? Who meets this gardener guy from Disc 2. I don't know if any of you guys were following following back when Disc 2 happened, because that was in like 2012. But all of those of you who've watched this whole thing through with me, thank you, you know, so much, because, you know, or everyone who's been watching this, but especially people who've been following it for 6 years. That's amazing. Like, that's really amazing. And I guess, I also want to thank... Oh, hold on, is this... Before I do anything... Before I get distracted, I think that is Albert marrying Princess Emile. Because, it was hinted at throughout the game. But look at that. A happy ending. Happy ending for two kingdoms. And the fireworks. And hello. What's happening here? I don't actually remember any of these, so this is a surprise to me as much as it is to you. Because the last time I saw this endgame stuff was when I was like 10. Oh, that's a picture of Lavitz there. Can you guess what this is about? Oh, and here's Don. He's having a fun old time. I think this is the reconstruction. Yeah, here's Shauna, and Dart's apparently been on another journey because he has a knapsack. I think this is the reconstruction of Celeste, the town that burnt down at the start of the game. At least that's the common sense thing this could be. I think that old man is the old man from the first episode, who was like the mayor or whatever. And if you notice, see that seagull? See that seagull that's been in every scene? It's just something to keep note of. Alright, now that it's gotten to the proper credits, and a quite nice song as well. This is the full opening song that I don't think a lot of you have ever heard. But I do want to talk a little bit to say, well, thanks to everyone who brought me this far. One person that I feel like I should thank is actually Chugga Conroy, who back in 2010 was my inspiration to start Let's Playing. We'd actually been doing some stuff with him with Zelda Universe, and you know, and then he was doing these Let's Plays, and I looked into them, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And he actually helped. You know, I did like 3 drafts or whatever of my first episode, asked for help on the commentary and that kind of thing, and he helped out back then. And yeah, that was 6 years ago now, and I think I've learned a lot from all this Let's Playing stuff. So thank you. And yeah, everyone who's supported me this whole time. This computer, which I think may be as old or almost as old as the as my playthrough of the game itself. It's been going on for, yeah, like 6 years too, this computer. And let's see, I've never really finished such a long-running series before, so I'm sort of lost for words for what to say, to be honest. Thanks for this game, all of the people in these credits, because this was a game that defined my childhood. Critically, it didn't actually do that well, to be honest. I think it was averaging like a, I don't know, a 7 critically, which is, you know, when reviews tend to start at 5, it generally means that this was sort of, people considered it average but not noteworthy, just sort of another attempt to be a Final Fantasy game. But for me, this was my Final Fantasy VII. I played this rather than Final Fantasy VII as a kid, and I loved it. And I know it has a long history of being beloved by fans on the internet. There was sort of a sharp critical divide between critics who sort of saw this and they were like, well, it's Final Fantasy, Power Rangers stuff. You know, it's clearly not very, you know, original, and then they probably had to rush through it for review and all that kind of thing. But for a kid who, you know, this was like the only game I had, you know, I don't get like 4 games a day for a review, you know, it's like, I had this game, this was my game for like the next 3 months, and I observed all of the secrets and everything. It was just a really big deal for me. I really like this game. I know it has faults, but I legitimately think that the addition system is something that still holds up even into the modern day. It would be something I'd love to see again. I think it's a much better combat system than like the Final Fantasy VII combat system, which obviously was its, you know, direct comparison back in the year 2000. Yeah, it's you know, it did have its issues. The voice acting, I keep making fun of whenever they do the voice acting. They clearly didn't put too much effort into making it realistic in the few amazing cutscenes that there were. But it just sort of adds to the joy of it. And some of the translations were a bit wonky, but none of that really reflects on the game so much as the level of support that this kind of JRPG had for switching into English, you know, for translating into English back then. Like some of them got really nice translations that were like heavily supported, like directly by, you know, by a company that was used to it. But some of them, you know, some of them got less adequate translations. But even throughout some of the silly wording and all that kind of thing, I think the sincerity of the game shines through, and it's yeah, I don't know where I'll be when I've finished Legend of, I mean, I've finished it, but I almost don't remember a time when I wasn't Let's Playing The Legend of Dragoon. It's sort of been, for me, like the defining part of my channel for so long, is the ongoing series. It's actually, here's a funny story. I was just talking about this the other day with Juggle Conroy, and I was saying, you know, back then, you know, I launched this, you know, and then it's been so long. And actually he pointed out that this Let's Play is only 10 days older than the infamous Proton John Superman 64 Let's Play. It's this was, I think, 27th of June 2010, and that was 17th of June 2010, so if he manages to finish that, he'll have become the longest ongoing series to be completed by you know, an active Let's Player in the history of YouTube. But until then, I think it might be me. I think this coming up on 6 years, June 2010, is an amazing achievement to finally finish it. And remember how I told you about that seagull? See how there's a seagull coloured in dark blue and a seagull coloured in red? Well, Is there anything reminiscent there? That's right. Reincarnation. Rose was checking in on everyone throughout all of those cutscenes. And here we are at the end. Thank you all. Thank you all for getting this far with me, and I really want to continue the legacy of my channel from here. This is sort of finishing what I started was my big goal when I returned to my channel. And now it really is a fresh start, so goodbye. This is the last ever episode of The Legend of Dragoon.